Hello, and welcome to the short Vort on Parsha Shemos, a new sefer. Today we're going to talk about empathy and the special story about a 70-ish gadol what he has done, how he has acted in order to show empathy with the hostages of October 7th, what he's done since then, or literally what he has not done. They'll find out later. Meanwhile, Moshe Rabeinu, Perek Beis, Pasuk Yidal, V'yigdal Moshe, V'yetzel el Achiv. He grew up and he went out to his brothers, Vayar b'sivlasam, and he saw them in their burdens. Mishnah's Rav Aaron on the Torah, based on the teaching of Rav Aaron Kotler, he brought down the Midrash Rabbah in Shemos, Rabbah Aleph, says that what did he see? He saw them in their pains and he cried. That's how much it touched him. And he said, woe to me, I wish that I would die in order to help you, because there's no work as difficult as working with the clay, the work that they had to do. But what he did is he turned his shoulder, no saying kasefav, and he helped his fellow brothers. We learn from this about just one example of the piousness and kindness of Moshe Rabeinu, about how he was nosi ba'ol im chavero, that he shared the burden with his friends. And one of the points is when sharing the burden is not just doing something physical, which is very important and very helpful, but it can even be just about having the sensitivity, the feeling of the suffering with your fellow Jews. As we see in the Gemara in Taina Springs, it says that Yitzar Adam es atzmo im hatzibor, a person should have himself, he should feel the pain with the public. And where do we see that? We see that with Moshe Rabeinu. In a battle with our arch nemesis Amalek, when Moshe Rabeinu lifted up his hands to heaven, the Jews won, and if they got tired and it got lowered, then the Jews didn't do as well. So what did Moshe Rabeinu do? He took a stone so that he could sit on it and have the strength to keep his hands up. So the Gemara asks, well, why did he put his hand on stone, which is hard? Why didn't he take something easier like a pillow or a cushion? Because that's exactly what Moshe Rabeinu did not want. Moshe Rabeinu wanted to feel the suffering that the Jews were going through. He wanted to empathize with them. And that's one of the things that, even though it made no difference to the battle, the fact that he would be on a cushion or on a rock, that doesn't change anything. But it's how his feeling is. He wanted to be a participant with them, and that's how a person should be. A person should desire to be with the tzibur if they are in pain. And when someone is in with the tzibur when they're in pain, they will also be zocheh to enjoy things with the tzibur. Now, when Moshe Rabeinu observed their burdens, he could have just stayed in the palace and listened to reports. Many people would have been satisfied with that they were in his circumstances. But no, for Moshe Rabeinu, he wanted to go out and see for himself. He wanted to be able to get the perspective that they have, and he wanted to reproduce those feelings in his heart. And he succeeded, as Rashi said, that the Midrash says that he was moved to tears, and he would cry, woe to me on account of you, if only I could die for your sake. But that wasn't enough. He lent his shoulder. He worked with them. There were hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of Jews that were working. He couldn't help all of them. When he would take some clay and participate, that wouldn't help everybody in a really realistic basis. But on an emotional level, on a moral level, when people saw that other people were helping, including this Jewish prince in the house of Paro, it helped them emotionally, and it had eased a certain level of their pain. Fast forward 3,300 years later, we are again in a battle against some of our arch enemies, against Hamas, who viciously and evilly attacked Israel on October 7th. This past Succos, about a year, almost a full year since the beginning of the war, where hostages to this date are still hidden in tunnels and other places in Gaza. There's a story that made the news that relatives of the hostages went to visit Rebbe Kolodestky, the daughter of R Chaim Kaniekski Zatzal, and they wanted a blessing from her house in Bnei Brak. And when she came in, she said in this report, as she said in a by the way thing, wasn't something she was trying to emphasize. She told them that since October 7th, her husband, who's Rabbi Yitzchak Koledesky Shlita, that who's around 70 years old, he'd slept on the floor in solidarity with the suffering of the hostages. However, in the winter, he got a cold and he couldn't sleep on the floor anymore, so he put a plywood onto his bed and he slept on that because he wanted to suffer with them. And she said, you can go into the room and see. How can we sleep comfortably when we have no idea how and where the hostages are sleeping? This doesn't change the reality for the hostages, but like Moshe Rabeinu, Rav Kolodestky felt that he needed to share in the pain of his fellow Jews. That's how we need to feel, how we need to act, not just for the hostages, but in all such situations. Mi Kam Yisrael. Thank you for listening. Have a wonderful week and a wonderful Shabbos.